Hard Eyes is the newest Valentine's Day slasher, and with a bunch of seasonal slashers down, I wasn't expecting much going in. A masked maniac with glowing red eyes returns every Valentine's Day to terrorize unsuspecting couples. Starring Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding, I knew little to nothing going in and was genuinely surprised as to how well it blended and created this new sort of rom-com slasher genre. I think this movie succeeds through and through because of the two leads. Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, they're not delivering top-tier horror performances of all time, but their chemistry is absolutely amazing, and the way that the story lends them to slowly start to fall in love with each other and spend more time together, go through this insane living through a slasher life experience. You really do feel the chemistry between these two. Mason Gooding also just always has a lot of charisma, as he also does in the Scream films. I was so surprised by how well the leads worked together. I haven't seen Olivia Holt in something in so long, and I just want to see more of her on the big screen again. I think this movie works on a baseline level, and obviously there's the creativity of the kills, the general idea of it being a slasher, all that stuff we'll get into later. But again, this all works on a baseline level just because of Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding. And then on the level of being a slasher film, it does what a slasher needs to do on every single level perfectly. It does exactly what you expect from a seasonal horror movie, and I mean that in a complimentary way. It's not necessarily falling into all of these tropes. I definitely do feel like most of the personal stuff between the two leads actually does work, and for the most part, it is very interesting. There are these two detective side characters that at first I didn't really like, and I kind of thought they were taking away time from the main story that I enjoyed watching, but as time goes on, they become integral to the plot in ways that I didn't really think they would be, so it all ends up working really well. I think this movie really just surprised me. I mean, I went in with no expectations. I didn't even know Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding were in this movie. All I had seen was one still image of the Heart Eyes killer, and I think for a slasher, the villain himself works enough, right? This idea of Heart Eyes, the idea of a killer that hates couples, it works until it doesn't. I think the reveal is just good. Like, it's just fine. It doesn't really do anything special. It tries to integritize itself. I don't even know if that's a word. It tries to combine itself with the actual lore, like book lore of Valentine's Day. I just don't think that was the way to go. I think it tries to take itself a little bit too seriously in those types of moments. And the film overall isn't really focused on being that real. It's not really focused on being that philosophical. And so when it tries to do that with the big killer reveal, it kind of falls flat to me. But where this movie truly does succeed on a horror movie level is the fact that the kills are indeed brutal. But to me, it's not necessarily what defines the movie. For example, Thanksgiving came out just about a year ago, and I really did enjoy that film. But I think it was defined by kills that were happening at a certain point in the film that kept propelling you to think about more things and keep on going further into the film as the runtime went on. That was what was carrying. Here, the kills are just as interesting as you'd expect. It's everything that you want. It is as brutal as you want. It's as bloody as you want. It's as heartfelt as you want, no pun intended. It makes use of the Valentine's Day concept. But the film isn't completely reliant on just brutal kills because there is at least a slightly interesting story going on with our two leads. And I'll repeat this till the end of time, but I think that's genuinely what separates this from our other seasonal horror movies, where we really do have a slightly interesting plot going on outside of just the killer killing people. And I only have two problems with this film, one being a pretty small problem and the other one being a pretty just annoying problem. The first thing is this film felt like it needed to end 2 times. Like, by the time it ended, I was like, holy shit, I thought it ended another 15 minutes ago. It genuinely feels like the film is wrapping up. Like, the peaking moments didn't feel like peaking moments, and that was going to be my only criticism of the film, that it kind of ended on a flat note. It's not to say those last 15, 20 minutes aren't good, but pacing-wise, it just doesn't really work that well. But finally, I think this movie is just way too meta for itself. For certain movies, it works. The Fall Guy, for example, quotes a lot of movies, and to some people it might be annoying. To me, it works really well because it is a film about filmmaking. This Valentine's Day slasher movie is making quotes that are titles of Valentine's Day / romance movies That does not work at all whatsoever. These are not the same situation. It's also so meta to the point where there is a girl that is in the Fast and Furious movies, and her character and her partner are named the same as like characters in that franchise. And it is used as a constant joke. It was just certain meta choices that to an extent it works when they're trying to be super overly corny and they're trying to like one up each other on the corniness of romance and Valentine's Day. That is funny and it works sometimes, but they just overdo it at times. And I think when the comedy gets reliant on that specifically, it's not really funny anymore. And the last thing I want to mention before I give you guys my final score is just the fact that this looks on a visual level exactly like the rest of these holiday slashers do. It's not doing anything crazy visually. It obviously, you can tell they were on a budget, but they do have interesting enough set pieces. It's just that they don't do something insane with like the visual language. So you can tell the constraints on this movie, but it's not something that distracts you from the film like a lot of other low budget slashers. At the end of the day, I had a lot more fun with Hard Eyes than I originally expected. I think the leads have so much charisma. It absolutely works because it has so many brutal kills mixed with enough heartfelt storylines. It works in this rom-com slasher genre, and though it might be too meta to an annoying extent at times, it is the perfect film to watch with friends on a weekend night. Overall, I'm going to give Hard Eyes a 7.5 out of 10. If you've seen or want to check out Hard Eyes, let me know what you think of it in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.